How's it going, man?
Good in you, bud.
Fantastic, fantastic.
We always say good. We've said it so many times, but
Yeah.
that's just an automatic response.
Well, no, when I
Um,
say it, I mean it because I don't do casual greetings anymore. But I think a lot of times, and when I say good, it's in the sense that let's sort of just dive right into it. Um, have you have you seen that Jocko Willink sort of clip where he talks about what do you do when there's bad situations? Have you seen that one?
no, no, no.
It's like, what do you do when things go wrong? What do you do when basically when the shit hits the fan, right? What do we do when that happens? And he said, well, there's one simple answer. You say, good. It's like some things went wrong, good, because that's the
No,
attitude
that's my approach as well.
that's the attitude you have to have in order to in order to get through it in any case.
Yeah,
And so yeah, when I say good, it's that even though there's been a lot of things that have been very very tough recently, extremely, my attitude is good because this is going to make me grow. This is going to make me stronger. This is going to make me more capable. This is going to make me more confident. So yeah,
yeah, definitely, definitely. But it's what I'm meaning is it's an automatic response still. It's we can be a lot more truthful, but the question is, will it be beneficial to like literally throw all my things onto someone else and then they have to carry the load for me? Like, if it, as you're saying in your approach, is that's also how I approach life. Very bad things happen and a lot of shit happen in our lives. But if we're gonna keep our focus on that, of how bad it is, and I keep answering you every time, hey, listen, Johan, it's quite bad, eh? Let me quickly tell you about how bad it is. I'm just reaffirming my current state, which means I'll probably get that in the future as well. And it doesn't mean passing then it then it's not passing through this and getting to a new place. Then it's staying here and probably externally blaming everything outside as well for what's currently happening with me on an internal state,
yeah,
in an internal state.
yeah,
So you're 100% correct, man. But I'm just saying, in society, you can walk past anyone and you're like, "Hey, morning, how are you? Good, and you?" Like it's a automatic response. It's there's no thought in that. Whereas sometimes it can also be used, not with me and you, because we know each other quite well, but it can be used as also a means of communication and starting a conversation. If one of the two parties are honest, someone can be helped during that time, maybe.
yeah.
But yeah, yeah. I don't know what more to say about that, but
Yeah, no,
yeah,
good. I mean, I guess the topic we've kind of uh, that you felt for the episode and was forgiveness, and I kind of felt like it would be good to talk about what to do when things go hard, because in both of our lives there's some difficult situations, and yeah, I figured why not just deal with that um, right now? Let's look at some of those things. So I think let's look at sort of the stages of of processing, right? So when something initially happens, there's an initial rejection of what's happening, an initial knee-jerk response. You can either give into this response or allow it to pass. Then there's the acceptance of what's happening, that something is happening, which is the beginning point of dealing with it. The the problem with acceptance and forgiveness is that acceptance has to come first and forgiveness comes later. Because you have to first accept what's happening so that you can emotionally process it so that you can reach forgiveness. At, at least that's the way that I've begun thinking about it. So you first have to accept that this horrible situation is happening, and then accept all of the feelings that it creates inside of you. And if you try to avoid any of them or repress them, you'll get stuck and you will not complete the let's say the healing cycle or the regeneration cycle that comes after tragedy.
Yeah, and it's definitely, you're 100% right. It's like being truthful with yourself, what we just discussed. Because that's basically acceptance. It's not just being truthful to others, but the main game of this game is actually to be truthful with yourself.
Yeah.
And that's the only way you can accept something. Otherwise, we'll tell all these different stories to ourselves. Let's just give this guy
Well, the dog is
few seconds.
having a chat with his buddy or something.
Yeah, it's just one of the people, one of my neighbors here. They went for a walk.
Oh yeah, I mean,
People go for so many walks around here, man. It's not like Gauteng. It's like everywhere you just go to the shop. There's like on your way to the shop, there's 30 people walking alongside the beach, alongside the road.
oh yeah,
Everyone
that's so
just yeah.
nice.
It is, and you actually meet a lot of people like that as well. This specific dog, he has quite a undog-like bark. Gets quite annoying if you hear it like 70 times a day.
I'm sure, dude. I'm
But
sure.
uh,
I
but yeah, we work with it.
my neighbor also has a dog that like, dude. If I'm sitting on the toilet in the bathroom and I make enough noise, or I'm like, even if I have like a video on or something, maybe I like laugh. I like I'm watching comedy or something, and I like laugh. The dog will start barking at me, dude, like in my toilet, because he can hear me, and like the wall between the property, the toilets are both relatively close to that
Yeah,
wall. And every time the dog hears something on the other side of the fence, he's like,
you can't even go to the toilet in peace without
dude.
someone monitoring your every move.
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
Just like just don't make any noise and like wake the dog up, so, or like let the dog know. But anyways,
so, in terms of acceptance, yeah, we definitely need to be truthful with ourselves in situations and not cloud it or make it more comfortable for ourselves in our heads. We need to face it with the true reality, and that's normally the one that's the most painful, and that's why we normally tell a few extra stories on the sideline to just give it that little extra tincture so it doesn't hurt so much. But that's also it's almost yeah, it's also avoidance at the end of the day. And no one's perfect. I do this myself. So I think every single one of us do this when things happen to you and it's been done by people. First reaction is for me specifically is anger. I don't act it out anymore, but I sit with that anger, and sometimes I would still cause damage to myself or pour poison down my own throat for a while. But I think the difference between me now and 4 years back, firstly, I would have acted out maybe, or 10 years back. And secondly, is the refractory period, the time it takes for me to actually get out of that state and put myself into a state that is more nourishing or
yeah,
that'll propel me forward. Whereas in the past, I could sit in that state in that unforgiven state where I don't forgive myself for firstly allowing it, and also the other person for doing something to me, and that lasts 6 weeks, months. Um, that's basically a personality trait. That's not actually struggling with it with forgiveness anymore. It becomes part of your personality, which is quite a big problem.
yeah,
Because then that specific situation then manifests itself into other relationships you have without you even knowing it, and that anger gets projected towards someone else because you didn't sit with it long enough. And that's what I think you're saying as well with acceptance. It's sitting with that shit feeling up until you can get to a point where you can actually work with it and bear it. I think that's the word, to bear the feeling. And once you can do that, it makes sense for me what you're saying as well. Once you can do that, you can do forgiveness. And people think forgiveness is just an overnight thing. It's not. takes constant effort, constant work, constant affirmations. For me, in terms of forgiveness for people that did things to me in my life, it took affirmations and a whole lot of it. Johnny, like whenever that emotion comes up, whenever that feeling comes up, and each and every one of us have different feelings, how we react to those situations. As I said, with me specifically, it's anger. With other people, with someone else, it might be avoidance. So it's different, but it causes the same amount of damage. But when you can get to that place of forgiveness, and yes, that feeling comes up again, but now you're not that feeling anymore. You can view it from a distance, but it's still there. It still affects you.
Yeah.
Then you can start using the affirmations and say, Johnny, I forgive you. Johnny, I love you. Um, and even though in the beginning you don't mean it, you might be so angry. And while you're saying it, this might feel completely unnatural. It would, because you've been honoring that emotion for quite a long time and the thoughts that go with it.
Yeah. Yeah. And you've almost created a pattern of hating other people when you are hurt, you know. And I mean, I certainly also have the anger reflex a lot of times. That's one I have to really control.
Yes.
Because I'll get angry, and then if I'm angry for long enough, I will switch to avoidance, because otherwise the anger becomes too toxic. If that makes sense. But either way, avoiding the problem is toxic as well. So it's just a different like a different coping strategy will kick in at a later stage. But yeah, that is sort of but it's not helpful. So I don't do that anymore. I don't to the best of my ability, don't avoid shit anymore. But yeah, I think one kind of thing I've realized going through therapy and really pushing very, very deep into myself is that, like, the place that come the mental attitude that occurs right before the resolution is something like, I'm going to look at this emotion, and I don't care how painful it is, I don't care how intense this experience is, I'm not looking away. Like, the moment that
Yeah.
mental, you tell yourself that affirmation, that truth, you're like, no, I'm not looking. It does literally nothing you do could stop me. No amount of pain can stop me. No amount of discomfort can stop me. When you tell yourself that, and you resolve that is the case for you, then you actually feel it in its full intensity, and then it's gone. And it's almost like, and you almost
100%.
ask yourself, why didn't I do this sooner? You're like, this was always an option. I could have just felt it and moved on. Like, you're like, why did nobody tell me? but but of course you were told. That's why he ended up where he ended up. But it's there's the that specific way of thinking of it's almost a warrior mentality that's required in that moment of there is literally nothing you could do to change my mind. I will not look away from this emotion. I will not stop until this is done.
Yeah.
And that seems to be quite essential to actually healing and reaching a place of forgiveness. Because if you don't go through that battle of, like, I'm not going to look away, then you're still holding on to those emotions. Therefore, you can't ever really forgive someone. All you could do is forget.
Which still affects your health.
right? But now you become a fragmented being because you're chopping bits of yourself off,
Yes.
right? So, um, and if you can't forgive yourself, the only other option is to forget. And so, forgiveness for self and others needs to be through a courageous act of emotional bravery and a willingness to sit with the reality of the pain, not make excuses, not don't tell yourself a story, sit with it and stare it in the eyes. And when you do, it's usually not long and it's gone and it passes.
Yep.
So don't,
No, I
yeah.
100% agree with you.
And I think that when you've released it, right, you've looked at it. I'm not looking away from you until this is done, and you allow it to pass through and over you. Then you've also, in a sense, released it. And I think that's the way forgiveness comes. It's like I don't. There's no pain left. I've released you because is forgiveness for others or for ourselves? Like
Yeah, it's for ourselves,
it's
eh?
for ourselves more so. So what does it really mean to forgive? It means that there's no more hurt that you're holding on to. That's forgiveness. You've let go of the pain
Yeah.
because then there's no more bad nothing. It's like it's done. It's over. So to the degree that we
One.
can, if you want to forgive somebody, then you need to be willing to face the pain that they caused you for yourself.
100%. I think it also comes down to one exactly what you're saying now. We have to. It's pointing back to yourself and also seeing, and this in NLP, there's a presupposition that says every single action, doesn't matter if it's negative or positive, actually had a positive intention. So the guy that trained us in NLP used the example, and this is quite, I think I talked about this in a previous episode as well, but when a woman goes through a experience where she's forced with regards to sex, now you have to ask, how does that statement make any sense in that situation? But it does, because that guy, for some other reason, he's getting a positive result out of that. His intention was to feel positive, which goes quite deep if you think about it. Something I just want to get the, before I mess this up. Yeah, just so I don't mess it up. It's actually, so Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they do. Jesus' last words on the cross. So if you can go in with that mindset, whereas anyone that goes out to specifically or on purpose, or sometimes not on purpose, goes out and you get hurt at the end of the day, it's because of them being unconscious. At some point in their life, they learned that type of action they're doing now gives them a positive result. They maybe saw it with their father, with their mother, when they were children. Whereas at that point in time, the mom or the father got a positive result. Doesn't mean they would get positive results because of that, but that's still the way they approached it, because they God at that point, which were their mom and father, were actually doing that. And that was how they resolved the problem. If no one ever taught them how to resolve it in a better way, they'll keep on doing that. Also, you can't go and tell this person, hey, bro, listen, you can, and I've done that many times in my life, but I can't expect for that person to just immediately let it sink in and then suddenly not uh, feel that way anymore or act that way anymore. Unfortunately, it's not how it works. So the only way how I can find peace in myself is say, Father, forgive them, for they do not know. If they knew, if they had the wisdom at that moment to act out differently, they would have. So we act out with the amount of knowledge and wisdom we have at the specific time and place. If you've not learned that lesson yet, and you have not had someone do that to you, how will you know how painful it is, and how will you know not to do that to someone else? So it takes a lot to see things like that. But I've been screwed over many times in my life, and I believe you and most people as well. But my approach to this is, I'll just smile and wave, man. I've known people that have really screwed me up, and it not screwed me up, but screwed me over, in really, really bad ways. And some of them, I still talk to them today. And when I talk to them, I still smile at them. Well, and I'm not doing that on purpose. I'm not doing that to say, hey, I haven't forgiven you. I've forgiven you, dude. That's the reason why I can smile at you. But I can promise you that every time you interact with me, you will have that lesson pressing down your throat. Every single time. We don't have to say anything. But you would know I have forgiven you. And whatever you've done and how bad it was and how bad your intentions was, I could have moved on from that. Could you? Or are you still doing it? That's not my problem anymore. But you would learn a lesson from that. Yeah. I'm not going to walk around with that knives in my back. And if they are still there, I'll keep on walking up until they fall out. That's how I approach it. There's something else I wanted to say as well. When we project this hate and anger towards other people, it's a pointer that there's certain feelings you haven't dealt with in yourself. So if I've got anger towards someone, okay, for whatever they did, but I've had a recent situation with this again, and this person, I thanked them because this person actually showed me again, I haven't totally resolved my anger. I didn't go and beat this person up, even though I could, really bad, if it was the old Nardas. But I'm not that person anymore, and I know it's not going to benefit me anymore. But I've learned, listen, Nardas, this anger and this feeling you're feeling now, and this poison you're pouring down your own throat again because of someone who doesn't know how to act and how to behave themselves. This is something you need to go sit with. You need to go feel this emotion, as you said. We need to go sit through this. And how do we do that? Because these emotions are just layers on top of what the actual problem is. And normally the problem is much deeper rooted emotion. So for me, anger is a cover up. This is me being really honest. This is a cover up for sometimes being, it's just one of them, but for sometimes being shamed. Shame. Anger is a cover up for shame. For me to actually show, listen, I'm angry now. Do not shame me. But you can't shame me. How? I'm allowing you to shame me. And I'm showing you that it has effect on me because I'm angry. But I want to get to a point whereas you are shaming me and I can still be like, well, dude, it doesn't have any effect on me. Like, I've not linked me or who I am to what the external thinks of me. So there's no way to shame me. So, and I'm getting there slowly but surely with people that fuck you over. with people that don't treat you in the right way, or in the way we need to be treating each other in a humanitarian way. How can I say it? Yeah. As humanity. So it's definitely, it's a pointer, and that pointer, if you can truly see the pointer, you can transcend that emotion into something else. And that something else will always, the furthest you can transcend something to is love. So if I can get myself to a point where, as you've done this and that and that and that, and I've stopped blaming you because there's something in me that made you react that way, and I'm aware enough of of understanding that, and you didn't know how to handle it, and you still acted out the way that you did when you were 8 years old. I'm sorry for you. I don't have to be angry at you. I feel sorry for you because that's how far you have grown. And it's not me shaming you. It's maybe a pointer then for you to work on self growth and to work through your own things. So yeah, I've just written a few things down here while you were saying it, but and transcending emotions always come with tears.
Yeah.
If you're not crying and you sitting there at home and I'm angry, and I'm angry. Okay, I'm suddenly over it. No, dude, you're just in denial. You haven't cried yet. You haven't cried like a little baby. You have to cry. You have to cry. That's how we release those emotions. Anger is just a cover up for those tears.
It is. Yeah, and especially with women understand this. You'll occasionally hear them. Oh, I had a good cry now. Like especially a woman that's somewhat self-aware and self-regulated. She's like, okay, I'm good now. I had a good cry. You don't hear men say that very often.
Yes.
But men are the are the ones who bottle up their emotions and get sick from it.
And that leads to toxic masculinity.
Yeah. Definitely.
To be dead honest.
The reason that term even exists is because of people doing that, unhealthily bottling
Yes.
up their emotions. And so it's look. I mean, there are in the moment you can't always immediately have an emotional reaction to what's happening. Like there are situations
Yes.
that require you to maintain your stoicism. You know,
Yes.
it's like sometimes you have to
Definitely.
keep your game face on until the job is done. But then you do
Yeah.
need to. But then you do need to. Then you do need to have a cry about it. You do need to let those emotions flow out of you honestly, without trying to suppress them, without trying to hold them back.
Deal with it, yeah.
You know, and
Because what is our
I think a lot
sorry.
of men. I think a lot of men get stuck in that keep your game face on mentality. But then they begin
It is,
but
yeah.
then you begin to become wildly disconnected from your emotions, wildly fragmented internally, you know.
And how can anyone know who you are then if you can't be real? Because it just means you're not real. Like, yes, you're disconnected, but you're also not real with me. If you are this manly man around me every single time, and every time I see you, you're just strong and then I'm wondering there's something wrong. Actually, something is really crooked. Something is broken, dude. Like you've you're bottling up so much shit, and then you can look at those people's lives and you can see how much they drink or how much drugs they use or how much there's some kind of escape, sex, women, with sleeping with a lot of women. There's some kind of escape because it's like having the fastest car in the world, but you forgot putting an exhaust on it. Where's the bad shit gonna excrete to?
Like emotionally you need
The
to
engine's
take
gonna pack up.
look, when the shit hits the fan, it means well, sometimes it just the shit flies in from the window and hits the fan, and it you know what I'm saying, it's a car accident, something comes out of the blue and it just fucking takes you off your feet. Or you know, I mean, you're doing the normal thing you're doing, you're not being risky or stupid, and something fucking horrible happens. Okay, this is very real. But there's also a time to take a shit, right? We the when the shit hits the fan, often you have to have your game face on and you have to clean the mess up first. And sometimes you have to really.
It has its time and place,
That's its
dude.
time and
But
place. Like sometimes it's now I've just got to solve this crisis first. But
yes,
then at some point you need to go and sit and take a shit, and that sometimes means having a cry. That sometimes means, whatever it means. But you need to let those tears out. You need to let those emotions out when you're done dealing with the situation.
yeah.
Because
And I think that's what makes us men compared to women, if I can say it that way. It's like And I don't want to be comparing genders here, but women are much more emotional, and that's where we come in. When things get really pressing, we can still use our rational mind, whereas compared to women, mostly they in those
Yeah, on average, you're
really
definitely right.
on
On
average.
average, women have a lower tolerance for acute stress,
But we have a lower tolerance
chronic
for
stress.
tapping in emotionally to ourselves, dude. Being honest with
No, but
ourselves,
chronic
being
stress.
truthful
No,
with
but chronic
ourselves.
stress. Men die from chronic stress. Women can tolerate day to day continuous load for extreme lengths of time, and men just crack.
Yes, yes, yes. No, definitely.
So there's like men are really good at dealing with a dangerous situation that is very dangerous right now. We are 100% giving everything we have in the moment. That's what we're built to
Yes.
do, even in a
Yeah.
neuromuscular level. So there are some like hormone because of the differences in hormones, because of the differences in DNA, etc. Like we develop a slightly different approach. Men are sprinters and women are marathon runners, to put it
And that's why I'm
metaphorically.
saying it has its time and place, as you're saying now, whereas things need to get sorted out. But that's how we made, dude. Like even in the ice age, like we need to go forage, go hunt, go do those things, even when there's no food and no one has eaten for 2 weeks. That guy still needs to go out. Maar he doesn't even have flesh on his bones anymore, but he needs to go and get that and catch that thing so his village can eat. How does he do that? He needs to tap into that rational system to know, listen, I need to get this done now, otherwise everyone's gonna die. So that's how we're made. And as I'm just trying to say is women, when it comes to the emotional side, they're much more advanced than us. So each has their benefits. This is what sometimes is also so funny for me with this whole movement, whereas women needs the same things as men and the same jobs, and
Yeah.
it's so funny because we're totally different creatures and we're made for different situations.
Yeah.
So obviously the situations and the work environments should differ. It's not, you don't have to copy someone to show you're more powerful than a man or whatever. You'll be already be beating that guy hands down with other traits.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and this is the joke with this whole a far left movement as well,
Yeah,
where
yeah.
everyone needs to be equal, dude. Like,
Yeah, the stupid equality pro equality people who's like everything should be homogenous and boring. No, but I
come
mean,
on.
look at but we it sounds like what we're saying might be extreme to some people because of your cultural indoctrination, but you would never in your life think that a person who's built to do gymnastics, like you take an Olympian who does gymnastics and you take an NBA basketball superstar and you put those two people next to each other and you want to tell me that we're all born the same.
Yeah,
Go
right.
fuck yourself. One of those people has no chance because he's 5'9", 5'8",
Yeah,
7, 6. That's why he's good at gymnastics. That's why he's damn good. That's why he has a gold medal in gymnastics. And that NBA superstar is, yeah, the gold medal level of that. Whoever LeBron James, whoever you want to use, he's built for that thing. So when you try to take something that you're not built for, you try and take a gymnast and you put them in the basketball team and you put the basketball player on the gymnastics team, what happens? Everybody's unhappy because
yeah.
you can't succeed at what you're doing because you're not built for it. So it's an uphill battle the whole way.
And then they're angry for that guy based on the way he's built.
And it's like, why? Like you like we all have certain things that we're naturally good at, things that we're naturally
Yes.
terrible at. Your career, probably don't pick something that you're naturally terrible at. That's like a really bad way to go.
Yeah.
Like pick something you're at least moderately good at. Like it doesn't have to be the thing you're best at, because maybe you can't make money doing that. I understand. Okay, the world is what it is.
Yeah.
But pick something
But
you're
it's
at
it's
least
100% what you're saying.
you're at least that you at least can do. Like
Yeah.
if I pick the sport of, let's say, basketball, volleyball, those are all reasonable sports given I'm extremely tall guy, right? It wouldn't
Yeah.
make sense for me to join the gymnastics team and think I was going to be competitive. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah, bodies are made for different things. Um, I saw on Joe Rogan yesterday as well. He was saying like John Jones. If you look at this guy, he's like got the perfect fighter body, tall, slender, and that's why he's so good. But he's perfectly. He's like a specimen, like a one of those perfect horses, and he's basically bred for MMA. The way he can keep distance, the way he can actually keep the enemy away from him. It's not because he just thinks differently. There's certain things in his body, as I'm saying now, he's how tall he is, that has a massive impact on the end result when every time he fights. So, but yeah, we're getting a little bit off track now.
Yeah, no, fair enough, fair enough. But
So, yeah,
no, I just wanted to kind of bring it back and say, and so it's okay. Like, pick your battles. Put your energy where you're good at what you can do. Do what you're play to your strengths when it comes to things. Don't just spend forever trying to get good at something you're never going to get good at.
definitely.
So
No, you're right, dude.
be wise with your application of effort. Goodness.
Yeah. So how if it comes to forgiveness, you also need to ask the question in every situation: how am I to blame? If I'm being dead honest,
Yeah.
and how could I have approached this situation for it to be any different? Sometimes, some situations, there's no approach that you could have done differently.
Yeah.
But then you are still to blame because if you maybe had a previous situation where it was exactly the same situation, you just allowed it again. So meaning there's something to work on. There's some place to get a little bit smarter and to actually figure something out and to move forward from that and use that as fuel instead of using it as poison and slowing yourself down.
Yeah, so let's take the example of a waiter walks home at night and gets mugged. Maybe he chose a really bad street the first time, right? And he chooses better lit streets. He figures out a whole route, still gets mugged. Realizes, shit, I'm just gonna have to figure out a way not to carry my cash home so that I can't be mugged. I gotta figure out a different way. Like, I gotta figure out,
Yeah.
the boss can bank it for me once a month, something. Like, keep it in the safe, bank it for me. Like, I gotta figure out a whole nother thing because this problem is gonna keep happening as long as I'm carrying the cash. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, yes, yes.
I'm still contributing to the situation. There's something I could do to help alleviate the situation from my side, even if it's an external problem.
And
Like,
alleviate my own pain in that
yes,
situation.
even if there's an external aggressor, bad person, criminal, wanting to steal your money, criminals waiting for you, there's still something that you could. There's almost always, let's say, not always, but almost always something that you could do to help yourself. You know,
Now, in that situation, something I'm thinking of now, in that situation, would it be easier to forgive the person when he's stolen your money or when you got him the second time but you didn't have any money on you? So, so you can actually have an impact on the amount of forgiveness and how quickly you can forgive on the choices you sometimes make. If, if say for instance, let's use an example. Johnny has, I don't want to use. So, in a situation where someone has done you over and you go again and the same thing happens again and the same thing happens again, who is then actually to blame? Because it's that same thing. Fool me once, fool me twice,
yeah,
fool me thrice, shame on me. Like, then the problem isn't that person anymore. And normally, when those type of situations happen with one or two people or three people, so also recently I've started thinking about this again. Then, and at a later stage it happens again and happens again. It's definitely something you're doing. It's definitely something you're unconsciously actually sending signals and allowing it. So you need to figure out what is it that you do. How is your approach? How can you alter the approach? And that takes contemplation and sitting with it. Because during that painful stages where you sit with whatever the emotion is, as I used the example earlier, anger, when you sit with that and you really contemplate, you'll be able to get to an answer and find out, listen, did you have any impact on it? But you need to be really truthful. And if you had, firstly, forgive yourself before you even think about forgiving the other person, because we're still living in a mirror universe. So if you even forgive that person, but you haven't forgiven yourself, you'll attract the next situation where that same thing is going to happen, because you're going to mirror that same energy again. So always ask, what is it that I could have controlled here? And then if it is a situation where you had no control, where is it that also many times in my life happened, like I've only been good to this person, and then at a certain point things really turn sour and I realize what actually happened. Then what is in my control? What was in my control? Did I do everything I could? Yes. Am I now doing everything I can? Okay, I'm dealing with it. I'm sitting with the pain. Whatever the case is, if you're doing everything you can, all that's needed is patience. Because as I said in the beginning, to forgive is not something that happens overnight. But it takes a lot of work, a lot of effort, and a lot of contemplation. And if you can't, what's that saying? It was an old, I think it's an old Chinese or Japanese saying. Whereas to remain angry at someone is like pouring poison down your own throat.
Yeah, yeah, something to that effect. Yeah.
You're not. I can't remember exactly what it is, but
Well, I think it's. I think
you're actually
it's cursing.
you're actually only
I think it's something like you curse them, but you pour poison in your own cup. I think that's. I think it's
yes.
something. The metaphor is something like that.
Yeah. So I don't know, man. Like, do 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 you are you seriously gonna keep on sitting with that, even though you know that? Like, it's you're making yourself ill. Whoever's listening to this, if you're doing that, I have a specific friend. I'm not gonna say a name, but a lot of people know this guy for what he is. And this specific friend, people that know me would know the situation, and also knows this guy as soon as I start talking about these characteristics. They don't even have to know me. So it's just a constant non-forgiveness. This is basically what it is. And this person, they at around the same age where I am now.
Sure.
But it's still the same person as I knew when I was a young child. It's it's still the person that blames everyone else. Never sits and faces his own problems. Never sits with the emotions. Never works through it. And then 6 years later, this guy will remind you of the one time you fucked up and did something wrong. And he's now feeling these emotions again. And then it's the same fight right from the start again. You can try to say anything to him. You can try to reason with him, but he's already in that state. And then what he does is he just keeps on drinking and using drugs. And at the end of the day, he's never figured out. He's probably figured out, but I see it as cowardice. That's all I can say. It's basically it's you're a coward. You know already what the recipe are. You must by age 36, you must have watched one movie that could have taught you that lesson, or one situation could have happened that could have taught you that lesson. But all he does, and everywhere he goes, he just keeps on talking shit about people, judging people, and feeling anger and hate towards people. So whenever you have a chat with him, and I don't like spending time with him
No,
anymore for
nobody
obvious
does like talking
reasons.
to these kinds of people, dude.
So when I talk to him, I'm very careful for what I say. Sometimes I'll still try to motivate the person, but I know it goes in here, goes out the other way, and it's actually meaningless. It's just a waste of space, dude, for me personally. So and most people do now is they just completely drop their care. And I'm also at that stage now, whereas I have a few people in my life like that, but you move them out slowly, dude. But I just can't understand how you can still be sitting with those things and making yourself so sick, and your life situations, and I'm not talking about finances or whatever, just your personality shows everyone where you still are. And that also, dude, I don't have there's only so much you can do for someone like that. And what more can you do, dude? You
Yeah.
can just try to send them positive vibes, but they are in such a trap. And it doesn't, how can I say, dude, it doesn't even make me angry anymore. It makes me so sad.
Yeah,
Every
dude,
time
that's
I think about this person and I'm alone, I'll get tears in my eyes, because there's no way to actually communicate with this person anymore and to get to a obvious conclusion where something will get resolved.
yeah, yeah, no, yeah,
I know whatever I'll say to you now, to actually, with my intentions to help you, you'll use it to me in a later stage with some story that I've forgotten about. But and 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 normally they are the people that does the worst shit to other people, dude.
oh, but that is the only type of person that does horrible shit to other people, dude.
And and they always have someone and something to blame. But if I never go constantly reminding this person of the damage they've caused in my life. But I'm being reminded on a constant basis for small little shit. Not anymore, dude. It's been quiet for a long time. But
No, no, I hear you, man. I hear you. I think, like, I'm also dealing with someone who I'm, not talking to as a result of, have distanced myself from significantly as a result of them just continuously just destroying other people's lives with no consequence, with no thought about it, with no,
yes,
just like selfish as all hell. And it's just,
that is what it is. Selfish.
yeah,
Narcissism.
it's like somebody who just didn't grow past being 3 years old. It's like, okay, so you're stuck at 3 years old, like, and when you see that they're like their behavior, like I was with somebody the other day who it wasn't quite a child thing, but it was a teenage thing, and that person turned into a teenager for about 15 minutes, and it was really annoying because it was so immature what was coming out of the whole person's energy and vibe. And it's like, it's because there's a trauma right at their teenage years that they didn't resolve. Some people, it's at 3 years old, and they get stuck in that narcissistic 3-year-old, because a 3-year-old is all they care about is themselves. That is narcissism.
Yeah, and the terrible twos as well.
Yeah, the terrible twos. But it's like at 3 years old, they're just a raging narcissist, like an absolute raging selfish narcissist that they're supposed to be.
Yeah.
Like they're supposed to be. That's what 3-year-olds are. And then by 4, that's wearing off. The narcissism is where they're learning to share. They're learning that, it's more fun to play together. It's more fun to actually be friends than it is to try to win, like just dominate, like be the ego.
You're talking here to an only child, right?
Yeah, well, I said that's what's supposed to happen.
It took me a while longer.
That's what's supposed to happen, right? So, like, if a child doesn't develop that by 4, it can be it's difficult to develop later, because that's
Definitely
the easiest time to learn that skill. And so what I've noticed is like but what you'll often notice with someone. So I guess this is a good time. Like, how do we separate? Because how do you separate somebody who's struggling but trying to get better and getting better versus somebody who's actually just a raging narcissist who wants you to believe that they're getting better because they want you to keep tolerating what they're doing, right? Like, how do you make a distinction between a person who's genuinely growing with you, in a sense, and somebody who's not?
It's very easy for me, dude.
I think
And
I have
I've
an
learned
answer,
that throughout
I
the
want to hear
years.
yours first. Yeah.
Sure. You don't want to go first?
No, I don't. I want to hear yours first.
Okay. So it's very easy for me. It's one of the two. It's either words or your actions will align with your words. It'll be words alone, or it'll be actions with words. If I hear you trying to get better, great. I'll need to see you trying to get better. If not, you're just wasting my time.
Okay.
If for 5 years I've heard the same story from you and you still have the same problem, and for 5 years I've checked you diligently, daily, in and out, read, watch shit, talk to me about shit concerning this problem. Doesn't matter if it's going to take you 10, 15 years, man. I'll stick with you. Doesn't make it matter if it takes a lifetime. I'll stick with you and I'll help you as far as I can based on the knowledge that I've built up over that time. Okay. But if it's 5 years later and I've seen you absolutely do no effort to this problem you have, you are literally just, you are that problem. You are the one filthing everything up.
Okay, yeah.
And what you're doing is you're spreading your negativity to everyone and you're feeding off that like a spiritual vampire.
I mean, there's so many different versions of this. Like what you're talking about is somebody who's sort of rude. There are people who do a lot of these things, but they're polite.
No. Yeah, I'm not
And
talking
those
even
are
about someone that's rude.
yeah, oh, yeah,
Anyone
yeah.
with those, whatever problem it is, if you don't deal with it,
Yeah.
don't act out.
Yeah, but the first example you gave was quite a rude example of a person, I believe, the way that you were sort of describing them. And I wanted to also state that, like, just for the viewers, that they can also come in the package of politeness. Right?
Definitely.
There are people that are
Super
extremely
polite.
On the surface, it seems super friendly and above board, and before you know it, you are neck deep in shit you never could have imagined.
Yes.
And it can get horrific so quickly. It goes from
Yes.
a romantic comedy to a slasher film in 5 minutes. and,
Yes.
and so don't be fooled by politeness. I think this is something that a lot of times people, because somebody's very polite, there will be more. So there's two strategies. It's usually politeness or aggression. You'll see with the if somebody is
You're
like,
right. Yeah.
if somebody's like the narcissists that I've dealt with, the big thing is they'll either use like the polite, don't you want to do this for me, like this very sort of persuasive, almost kind-hearted way of kind of persuading you to do something, and then when that doesn't work, then the anger, then the aggression starts. Then they start to threaten, right? And then also things start to get quite vicious quite quickly. So, I'm sorry. I just wanted to go back.
But with both of them, you monitor their actions, bro.
Yeah, again, it's that actions and words, do they match up? Is it, when somebody says, what people say, I believe less than what their actions are. So
just look at what they do.
Yeah, I just look at what they're doing. So like, let's put your schedule down, your timetable down, and let me see if what you say is what you do, right? So it's like, oh, okay, I care about these things you say. Okay, let's look at how much time and energy you put into these things you say you care about. Oh, not very much at all. Once every 2 or 3 weeks. Like an hour once every 2 or 3 weeks. Okay, but you say you care about these things, but they're not doing you're not progressing in this thing, this skill, this whatever, this relationship, this career path, this whatever. It's not progressing. You say you care about it, but am I seeing the actual, do you have receipts?
Exactly.
Don't tell me what your business status is. Show me the paperwork. So that's like for me it's really become the same thing. It's like if I just see somebody doing the same thing over, there are a few situations in my life where I'm in and around people that are like just repeatedly like banging their head against the wall.
And if they're not hurting anyone else, it's okay.
Yeah.
It's all right. And if you're doing 5 minutes effort in 3 months, it's okay. You're doing something, dude. I've got immense respect for you. But if you go out And this specific disorder or thing that you have is, you know, it's hurting people. And I've been
But it
monitoring you for
almost always
5,
is. That's the
3,
problem.
10 years.
Very many
Yeah,
of
it
these
almost
things.
always is. It is almost 90% of the time it does have an impact on someone. Yes. But I'm just saying, if it's a long-term thing, dude, and you're still complaining about that thing, you're literally not doing anything.
You know, and yeah, so it's and so we need to have boundaries with people that are not willing to do the work, unfortunately, and they can only go so far with us on our journeys,
Thank you.
because like I have to also keep my internal world safe. I can't share vulnerable things with people who are not going to be able to tolerate and or understand them
Or judge you for it.
or judge me for it, right? So I can't do this podcast, for example, with somebody who wasn't like me, like you. I couldn't do it with a different kind of person. It wouldn't
Yes.
work.
It'll drain your energy every single day.
It will be terrible because the level of connection that we're able to have is dependent on the amount of things that we have that are harmonious with each other. The more
Yes.
harmonious two entities are, the more that they can connect, the more that they can interconnect and gel. The less harmonious two
Yes.
things are, the less that they can really work well together. And there's
Yes.
lots of things in the Bible about this. Don't walk in this. Don't sit in the seat of scoffers. Don't walk with the counsel of the
Yes.
mockers. There are lots of references to this.
So much truth, dude. I wish I could have listened to that a lot younger.
Right?
Could have saved me so much trouble.
The problem sometimes is that the people telling you those words are the ones that you need to be avoiding, but that's the story for another day. Occasionally,
Yes.
occasionally those people that are hounding you with that need to take their own advice. But yeah, so that's that kind of, I think that summarizes very well that whole world, and gives people something that they can latch onto. So I guess the take home is like, accept first. Like, okay, things are bad. There's pain. I'm uncomfortable. There's something is wrong. Except, yes, something is not the way I would like it to be. Then really
Be truthful,
just
accept it, be truthful.
dunk your head into the tub of that emotion. There's no point delaying it. Don't drag it out. Just dunk in there, get into the ice bath head first, because it's only going to be 30 seconds and then you climb back out and it's over. So just get it over and done with. Just feel the emotion, cry the tears, lie on the floor shaking, whatever your body needs to do to release that. Some people's bodies shake. That's okay. It's normal. If you watch what happens...
Don't hit the wall, hit the pillow, right?
Yeah. If your body needs to shake to let things out and whatever that is, let your body do that. And then now there's forgiveness, because now you are releasing, you're releasing that person, the emotion that you've had, the attachment you have to that negative experience, and you're setting yourself free. And it sets them free in a way too. It does. But
It does.
But
It does set them free.
But it's very important for your own health, for your own soul, for your own spiritual progression in life to go through those phases.
And transmute the energy from something that is actually holding you back to something that'll be progressing you into the future. Doesn't matter how painful it is, doesn't matter how uncomfortable it is. I say this so much, and I think I've said this so many times on this as well, but how can you expect to see the beauty of the stars if the background is not dark? And you need to sit with that negative things. It's exactly the same. It's Carl Jung's. It's Jungian theory. It's Jung's work. It's his life work to actually be truthful, to take responsibility for what you can. You can't take responsibility for everything. You can't take responsibility for that narcissist, but you can take responsibility for how you react to it and how you how you actually stop throwing down this poison down your own throat.
Yeah.
And actually sickening yourself up. Self-love.
Yep.
And by self-love, even that person that you were struggling to forgive, for showing this type of dedication to yourself, by sitting through this plane, you'll firstly not allow that person or anyone else like that to do that again, because you would have learned the lesson. But secondly, as Johan just now said, you're releasing yourself and also the other person. Energetically, spiritually, something would happen in that person's realm, and it would actually remove chains off them. Sometimes we don't want them to have those chains removed.
But then
But,
you must walk with the same chain.
and exactly, it's again a mirror principle. You will then be enchaining yourself as well. Johan, I think I've got like
Yeah.
30 seconds left before our ESCOM.
No, all good, all good. Yeah, man, that's been an awesome episode. I think
Awesome episode.
it's gonna help a lot of people.
Love it. And yeah, love you, man. And we'll speak soon again, buddy.
Cool, buddy. Love
Thanks,
you too,
everyone.
brother. Chat again soon.
Sweet.
Okay. Bye.
Okay, bye.